Talk for the camera, Bonnie. Hey. So, welcome to Car Cam. Thought I would bring you along for a little ride this morning. It is currently Thursday. It's the Thursday immediately after I finished filming on episode 1. I am making a run to the nearest, well, basically chain supermarket store, which in a town like this is about 20 minutes away. My production day is tomorrow, Friday, and I have some prep to do today. Apparently, the car apparently thinks that the boot is open. So, you'd probably think that since my bakery is a real-life official business thing, that I could just wholesale all my ingredients, right? Get everything delivered and all of that stuff, but low. For some stuff, yes, I can wholesale, things that I use very frequently, in big volumes, relatively speaking, and with decent shelf life. So obviously all of my flour, things like seeds and nuts, but especially this time of year when I'm making more sweets than I usually would, I can't really justifiably place a wholesale order. Obviously the caveat when you're working with a wholesale stockist is they give you a discount on the proviso that you're ordering a lot of stuff. When you don't need to order so much stuff, they won't deal with you. But more to the point, I don't want to order like the minimum wholesale amount and then just have unused ingredients sitting around. And ultimately it will lose me money if I order a lot at a discount and then don't use it. So long story short, when it comes to certain things, like some of the stuff I use for my buns, just head to the retail outlet place and buy stuff there. Even with my wholesale, I'm a small bakery, yeah? And so a lot of the big wholesalers around Melbourne don't really want to deal with someone ordering at my quantities when it comes to delivery. Every so often when I do need to order flour and whatnot, which isn't too often, my flour and my big wholesale stuff actually gets delivered to family in Melbourne and I go pick it up, which is fine because it's a good excuse to visit and I can take the bread if I've made any and sort of say hi and have a coffee. It would cost 5-10 times as much in delivery fees if I did that. And so I'd rather just take the couple of hours round trip to do it myself. Yeah, some of the realities, I suppose, just sitting in as I say it out loud. So I'm just getting a little pre-weigh done at this point of the morning. This does take concentration. There's numbers involved. Which is just to say I've got my breads to mix later on, and I'm just pre-allocating all the flours I'm going to need in these buckets here to make the actual mixing process a little more streamlined. What did you miss this morning? Just the basics. It's a fairly quiet one today. Did English muffin mix and high tins. And just got my starter ready for the main bread mix. The prep you saw me doing was actually for the bake I did this last Friday now. Today is Monday. I was not feeling like I was in a position to film. First of all, I had, actually my mother was here. Somewhat of a baker in her own right, and she lent me a hand because it was a bit of a crazy one. I put those English muffins into production, not realizing that they would sell rather well, and I think in hindsight I overestimated my own capacity, because I also had my first run of Easter hot cross buns, plus decent orders for everything else across the board. And with the first production run of anything, it's a bit chaotic. No matter how much you test and practice, there is nothing like the first time you're actually selling a product. And look, things went okay, but they could have gone a lot better. And so ultimately I decided it was better not to try and focus on filming. So yeah, alas, you missed a major stress test for the bakery, I suppose. But it was for the best, I think, in the end. I suppose it's something I should have expected, that running your own small business is going to come with challenges, and it's going to be intense, and you don't really get the chance to switch off. That is certainly all proving true so far. And I can tend to have a bit of a predisposition towards a little bit of anxiety, I suppose, a little bit of undue stress. And so I've got to find a way to manage those expectations and just keep myself focused on why it is I do this and why I enjoy it. Oh yeah, and these buckets come from the local ice cream shop. I really wanted to mention that because upcycling is good. Yeah, their ice cream comes in these when they restock, and then they just blast them through the dishwasher and give them to me. They hold about 3 kilos of flour. This scale can only weigh 3 kilos of flour at a time, so everybody wins. So I'm not sure how much you can hear of this, but next door is cranking it with the beeping machinery, house under construction, etc. So maybe I didn't pick the best day to film. There's just engines vibrating and something in there's perennially in reverse apparently. So this is the plain dough. I've done the panna di casa. A couple more bread doughs to go. English muffins, etc. should be up pretty soon. Yeah, as the series moves forward, I'm hoping that things actually happen. The business evolves, and I can show you things as they happen. There is possibly stuff in the pipeline, which is kind of cool. There's a sort of a food festival coming up soon that, all going well, I should be taking part in. Other bits and pieces as well, which maybe I shouldn't explicitly talk about just yet, just in case they fall through. But yeah, there's a bit going on. I didn't realize it was so much work to run a small business. Oh man, I hate this mixer. It's a little workhorse, but it's also a little piece of something. It sometimes is real good at forming a skin at the very bottom, and like a skin of not fully incorporated flour, which isn't the end of the world, but I can even fix it by hand, just by kind of working the flour through, because I still develop all these doughs by hand. I guess this is what makes a dough artisan, or whatever you might want to call it. Because even bigger sourdough bakeries adhere to the principles associated with actual slow fermentation. and proper dough development is that it's not... The machines like this are just facilitators. You know, they expedite some of the process. But I hesitate to say the word if you're doing it properly, but honestly, I mean, I'm comparing it to mass manufactured, large scale sort of stuff. All this to say that you can't avoid doing it by hand at some point of the process. I mean, and there are some like shaping machines out there that can sort of do some of this for you by hand. Replace your hands. But making high quality stuff like this, you can't not be close to the process. Does that make sense? What am I even trying to justify here, man? I don't know. That wasn't supposed to happen. Oh my god. I need a real space. And part of me is scared to make that kind of jump. Because this is sort of a catch-22, and I'm finding myself talking about this like I'm the only potential small business owner going through this sort of thing. The catch-22 of the bakery's not making that much money right now. And a big factor in that respect is the lack of space. Because I'm physically capped at how much bread I can make from this space. And I can push it a little further. But so, for example, I've got one wholesale stockist right now. As in, I wholesale and then they sell at retail price, right? Yeah, I suspect I could possibly take on one more stockist, or two depending on their size, and that would be it. Like, there'd be nothing else I can do. But even then, it's kind of like I'm flirting with danger, because what if they want more? They could actually be impressed by my product. And then, you know, I don't want to be in a position where I have to turn business away. Is this a really Aussie phrase, tight ass? I don't think I'm a tight ass, but I have, maybe it's the imposter syndrome I was talking about last week. There's something that's kind of holding me back. Like, I can't justify spending any large amounts of money on this potential dream of mine. It's like, who am I to just fork that money out on a new bakery, you know? I don't know. Little after 1 o'clock, real time. Just moving on to dividing and shaping of the main loaves now. Let's see. Always up on the first one, man. Something you slowly get better at, this estimating the weight of a lump of dough. I've heard so many stories about my nonno, my granddad, who was a baker long before me. He worked in big production bakeries a lot of the time. And my family kept always telling me, oh yeah, he would weigh the first 1 or 2 bits of dough, divided pieces of dough, just to make sure he was calibrated, and then he would just go. And he would occasionally check and always be within a couple of grams of his intended weight. But when you do that many thousands and thousands and thousands of reps, I guess it's not that surprising. Yeah, I'm not even sure if that's something I've actually mentioned. That of sorts I'm a baker after my grandfather. Nowhere near to the same degree in terms of volume or skill, but nevertheless, it's kind of a nice little, I don't know what the right word is. Inheritance? I don't know what the right word is. I'm sure in no small part I do what I do because of him. He was only, what was he, 63? 63 when he passed away? Something like that. And I was only 19 or 20 at the time. Shouldn't say only. I mean, I guess it was probably a privilege to know him for as long as I did it into my adult years, but I didn't really feel like I was a proper adult. And I'm only learning a lot about him secondhand now that he's no longer here. I feel like if he were around now when I finally took up an interest in bread, it would have been a lot of fun. know you can't really see from there. First couple loaves off the block. Now, are you sticking? No. Okay, cool. I had a problem with these. These are the spelt and sunflower, and I roll them in linseed. When I don't get the linseed far enough around the dough, the shaped dough, it sticks to the sides of the banneton, or proofing basket if you prefer the English term. Just making sure we're not getting any stickage. Slight change to this recipe as well. Like, somewhat inadvertently ordered a slightly different flour than what I've been using for these. I've been having a lot of trouble shaping these well, and then getting it to stay standing nicely in the oven when they bake. Because, you know, this is it technically a liquid? I don't know. Point is, you apply a lot of heat to this thing, it goes whoosh out in the oven, but you also want it to go up and expand. With these, I was getting more spread and less expansion than I would like. Not that the bread was bad bread; it was excellent, still excellent tasting and nutritious bread. But you know, the home baker in me that obsessed over perfect-looking loaves on Instagram still gets a little upset when my bread comes out flatter than I would like it to. And it's one of those things I don't have really much insight into, is like how heavy the aesthetic weighs on for the like average buyer. Like, oh no, that loaf looks flat, I'm not going to buy it. Yeah, I really don't know. Your average consumer, you know, someone who just wants to buy a good loaf of bread. Like, I know the difference. Sure, a lot of people know the difference, but I don't know if everyone knows the difference. I wonder if there's any market research out there on that. I'm actually getting really excited to see how these are going to turn out in the morning. I will endeavour to have the camera floating around so you can catch some of the morning routine. Actually show you that I do load my own loaves into the oven, because I don't think I've really caught much of that on camera just yet. Now that I'm finally coming to grips with the flow with two ovens and learning the new old oven, which is to say the second-hand one I bought most recently. This last one's not going to come out as well.